the lid off racial profiling, driving while black. We catch cops on hidden camera, and what you will see in just a few minutes will have you talking all week long. This is Maurice. He's a good guy. He's driving late at night. This could be your neighborhood. Maurice is doing nothing wrong. Watch what happens next. This is undercover video. He's being stopped by cops. There's also a hidden camera in Maurice's car.
Where you supposed to be? Where you looking for?
Does it matter? Why you stopping me?
Why am I stopping you?
Yes, ma'am.
That's not the worst that happened to him. 4 more cop cars come. We're just minutes away from this explosive report. What happens to Maurice, it shocked us. See if it shocked you. Now to our bombshell I-Team investigation, driving while black. What you're about to watch will affect you. It is an eye-opening account of what it's like to be stopped by police for no reason at all. You've seen headlines, you've heard the stories. African Americans stopped by cops because of the color of their skin. But now, for the first time, you're about to be the driver. We take you inside the car of a young man. Maurice is being followed by police. What the police don't know is we are following them. Cameras rolling. Maurice has done nothing illegal. So why did things turn to this? The results of this investigation even surprised us. Roland Smith has this I-Team report.
The cops are following this man. We are following the cops. Our camera records their every move. We'll show you in a minute what they do to this guy, and you can decide if the cops did the right thing. But first, listen to another driver describe his nightmare on Long Island.
He placed his hand on his gun. He screamed at me. He's like, you know, you don't belong here. Why are you even parked in front of these people's houses?
That man is Belindy Delanois. He told us that he was abused by police. Early September, 2 in the morning, right here in the mostly white town of East Meadow, Long Island. Belindy says he was getting out of his parked car to visit a friend when a Nassau County cop pulled up.
At one point, I was frozen. I was thinking, like, maybe I'll probably die.
Belindy told us the cop checked his license and registration and then ordered him out of the neighborhood.
He hands it to me and tells me to get the hell out of here. You should never have been in this neighborhood, and repeats saying that over and over and over.
Belindy is convinced he was racially profiled.
Basically, he said to me, I don't have the right to drive around in a white neighborhood. When he said that to me, I felt like I was worth nothing.
Belindy says he's still suffering the trauma of that encounter.
It was one of the most terrifying experiences I ever had. Ever since then, I haven't stopped trembling. I had to go to the doctor, because they gave me 2 prescriptions for it.
Belindy also called the UPN 9 I-Team for help. After listening to his story, we decided to go undercover to investigate. We wanted to find out, was it a crime to drive while black in Nassau County?
His thought was racially motivated. You don't belong here. I'm deciding that you don't belong here, which he doesn't have a right to do as a police officer.
Diop Kamau is an ex-cop from the L.A. area. Now he heads the Florida-based Police Complaint Center, which does police ethics training. He also uses hidden cameras to investigate complaints of police abuse. Diop has done investigations for both network and local news organizations. He listened to what Belindy said that a Nassau County cop did to him.
Harassing this kid from his point of view was a good thing.
We hired Diop to devise a test for us of the Nassau County Police. You'll see the extraordinary result in a minute.
This is just about the speed I want him to go.
The man in this car is Maurice Hayes. Diop asked Maurice to help with our test and drive in Nassau County. Diop has chosen him to be the tester because he's squeaky clean. In fact, Maurice is a college student at Florida A&M University, where Diop is one of his teachers. Maurice even mentors a boy in elementary school.
You gotta be going west.
Diop was with our producer and cameraman in a second car, communicating with Maurice via walkie-talkie. Diop instructed Maurice to drive carefully and avoid breaking any laws. He's in an older model Chevy with Florida plates. The car has no violations. You are about to see our test, caught on tape, minute by minute. Now watch closely and see if you think what happens is right or wrong.
You're gonna get in front of them and just cruise. I'm gonna let you know.
We wanted the cops to get a good look at Maurice.
We have one coming out right now.
It was almost 3 a.m. in the mostly white community of North Belmore. What would happen to Maurice?
Okay, Maurice, roll out. Start your car and roll out.
Maurice complies.
Is that him?
Yep, that's it.
We followed behind.
Just keep going straight.
Now Maurice is next to the cop.
Let's just let her get a good look at him.
The cop can see that he's black.
Make sure you hit your turn signal.
It's now 2 minutes since the cop first saw Maurice.
Okay, make the first right turn that you can make.
Maurice turns down a residential street,
Okay, man, come back down to the street.
and suddenly the cop stops.
Oh, yeah, she is.
Maurice follows Diop's instruction and comes back to the main avenue where the cop is. It's now been a little over 3 minutes since the cop saw Maurice.
There it is.
What you are seeing now is the view from the camera in the trunk of Maurice's car. The cop pulls him over.
How you doing?
How you doing?
All right, let me see license, registration, insurance card, please.
Diop told Maurice to cooperate with lawful requests, but not to answer personal questions. Legally, he doesn't have to.
Where you going to?
Oh, I'm a little bit lost. I was just riding around. I'm just visiting.
Yeah, I'm thinking, because I just saw you turn off.
You heard it.
I just saw you turn off.
The cop said she just saw him turn off. Did she think his turn down a residential street made Maurice a criminal suspect? What if he were white? We tested that too, and we'll show you what happened in a minute. But back to Maurice. The cop peppers him with questions about where he's going.
Where you supposed to be? Where you looking for?
Does it matter why you stopped me?
The cops need more than race and a right-hand turn to stop someone. And unless they suspect criminal activity, they're not supposed to be asking personal questions.
But we don't have a crime, and we don't have a traffic violation.
Our camera watches from a distance as 3 more cops pull up. Diop also monitors a wireless video transmission from the hidden camera in Maurice's car.
The fact that he entered that white neighborhood and then came back out was enough.
The cops then took Maurice out of his car.
I think whatever he's told them to this point, they're not satisfied. He has an absolute right not to answer any questions.
Maurice did not give them permission to search the car. They did it anyway.
They're basically going through the entire car without any legal reason.
We wanted to get closer to see if Maurice was all right.
Okay, I don't like this.
We were shocked by what we saw.
In my view, the act of handcuffing him was to intimidate and humiliate him.
The cops had no right to search Maurice's car or put him in handcuffs without reliable information he had committed a crime. Maurice had broken no laws. There was nothing illegal in his car, yet they kept him handcuffed for over an hour. They never charged him with anything and finally let him go.
If he drives into a neighborhood like that and turns his lights out and he looks like he's looking in cars, that's suspicious.
Maurice didn't do that. The operations guide of the Nassau County Police Department says it does not condone racial profiling. The guide says racial profiling occurs when a cop relies on race as a primary basis for law enforcement action, such as a traffic stop. We wanted the commissioner to look at our tape and explain what his cops were doing to Maurice. Why did they stop a man who was breaking no laws? Was it based on his race? Why did they tear his car apart? And worse yet, why did they keep him in handcuffs for over an hour? The police commissioner refused to answer.
One officer stated that taxpayers don't want criminals in their neighborhood at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I asked him why he called me a criminal, and he just walked away.
Even though we couldn't get answers from the police commissioner, we still wanted to know, would Nassau County cops be suspicious of a young white man driving in a mostly white neighborhood at 3 in the morning? That was part 2 of our test. We were surprised by what happened.
Are you in place, Greg?
Coming around the corner right now.
Now we're in Belmore, near the train station and the commuter parking lot. This time, Greg Slate is driving. Also an older car with Florida plates. We want the cops to see him.
Go straight, and then make the first right turn that you can make. Make sure you hit your signal.
Greg has turned down a residential street, as Maurice did. Now you're seeing the view from the camera hidden on the back of Greg's car. The cop ignores it.
Basically nothing happened. It was a non-event.
Remember what happened to Maurice.
I felt like I had no rights at that point in time.
Now look at this. The cop who ignored Greg in his '84 Camaro with Florida plates is now face-to-face with our car. Diop and our African-American photographer are in the front seat, clearly visible. We pull out onto Sunrise Highway.
Don't make any U-turns because they're illegal here.
Suddenly, we're being stopped by the same cop who ignored Greg.
Why did you stop me?
What's that?
I said, why did you stop me?
I stopped you because you acted suspicious, that's why.
Did you write me a citation?
Yes, I did.
For what?
Your insurance card is expired, sir.
Diop had mistakenly given the cop an old insurance card left in the rental car's glove compartment. Our photographer tries to give him the current one.
Officer, here's the insurance card.
Here's the insurance. We're two black men and a navigator. I guess maybe that is suspicious to him.
After that, we still tried again to get Greg noticed by the cops. We've been up all night, and it starts to get light.
Get up a little bit further, let him get a look at you.
Greg's presence in the neighborhood did not get him stopped, searched, or detained.
That's not who they're looking for, and that's not who they perceive as a threat.
After the Nassau County Police refused to explain what happened to Maurice, we tried to get some answers from the Nassau County executive. His office never returned our call. So we took our findings to the New York State Attorney General, Elliot Spitzer. His Civil Rights Bureau looked at our story, and now they're investigating. We want to stay on top of this story, and we'd like your help. If you think you have been racially profiled by the Nassau County Police, call the I-Team hotline at 201-330-2224. That's 201-330-2224.
So, Roland, I have to ask, what is the cops' response to this, and what's next?
Well, Harry, a few hours ago, we did finally receive a fax from the Nassau County Police Commissioner. His name is James Lawrence. Now, he acknowledged, based upon his preliminary investigation from the internal reports of our allegations, that corrective action may be warranted. But he would like to see our tapes. He just did.
Any way you break this down, what do you think about what happened to Maurice?
Well, I think that no matter how you look at it, we didn't air this story to criticize the good works of the police department, and they do a lot of that. We aired this story because prejudice exists. Prejudice is illegal, it's wrong, and it needs to stop.
And what's next now?
We're going to follow this as long as we can and see what if it's a systemic problem within the police department or perhaps some other training issue.
This is UPN 9 News Undercover video. You are about to see what happens when an African-American man walks into a police precinct and asks cops how to file a complaint about police misconduct. It's part of our I-Team investigation, Driving While Black. Nassau County cops under fire for alleged racial profiling. Last week, you saw the story of college student Maurice Hayes. We had him drive through a mostly white neighborhood late at night. He did nothing wrong, but what happened to him even alarmed us. Our undercover cameras rolled as cops pulled him over, cuffed him, and detained him for more than an hour. That story sparked calls and emails from you, our viewers, and it prompted an internal investigation by the Nassau County Police. Despite that, they still insist there is no racial profiling problem, that they get few complaints. Now our I-Team may have uncovered the reason why. Brenda Flanagan has this I-Team investigation.
Well, it really sounds like you're being a little bitch about it. Why don't you just take it like a man?
Belendy Delanoy says a station house cop called him a little bitch when he tried to complain about alleged racial bias by a patrol officer. Now this is hidden camera video of a different man trying to get some help at a station house.
We don't have a form just to bitch on because you want to make a complaint.
What was that?
We don't have a form just to bitch on because you want to make a complaint.
The I-Team used a hidden camera to test how Nassau County cops treat people who have a complaint about alleged police abuse. But first, Belendy's story. It prompted the undercover investigation you're about to see.
He placed his hand on his gun. He screamed at me. He's like, you know, you don't belong here.
Belendy said a cop confronted him when he was in the mostly white community of East Meadow, Long Island.
He screamed at me, why are you even parked in front of these people's houses?
It was late at night in early September. Belendy picked up some food at an all-night diner and went to hang out with a friend from college. He was getting out of his parked car when the cop pulled up behind him. After the cop checked Belendy's license and registration, Belendy says the cop made this demand.
He hands it to me and tells me to get the hell out of here.
Belendy then asked the cop for his name and badge number. Belendy says the cop retaliated by writing him tickets.
When he hands me tickets, he said, here. There's my name and badge number.
2 of the 3 tickets were for moving violations, even though Belendy was parked. Get this.
He never saw me driving.
Later that day, Belendy went up to a cop on the desk at the 1st Precinct to file a complaint.
I told him the situation, what happened.
Belendy says that cop then became abusive.
He says to me, well, it really sounds like you're being a little bitch about it. You're making a bigger deal out of something that is not.
We wanted to find out if Nassau County cops are discouraging complaints about alleged police abuse. We went undercover to investigate using Maurice Hayes as a tester. Maurice was the man who helped us investigate whether or not it was a crime to drive while black in Nassau County. This is Maurice in our hidden camera video. He ended up handcuffed for over an hour, even though he'd committed no crime, not even a traffic violation. Last week, Nassau County Police Commissioner James Lawrence said he's investigating what happened to Maurice.
As you know, I commenced an internal investigation. Some of the information that we've received preliminarily, give me cause for concern that corrective action has to be taken.
We decided to test what would happen if Maurice wanted to complain about his treatment that night. We sent him to a different part of Nassau County wearing a hidden camera. He went to 4 precincts and asked this simple question.
How do I go about filing a complaint against the officer?
3 precincts flunked our test. They gave the wrong information. The 4th precinct got it right. Here in the 3rd precinct in Williston Park, a sergeant insists there was only one way to do it.
I have to know what happened. I mean, you just can't come in here and say, I have a complaint. You're just going to fill it out. There's no such thing. You got to tell me what happened. I got to know what the hell happened.
But that's not the only way, and the sergeant should have known better. If you feel reluctant to talk at a station house, you don't have to. According to the Nassau County Police Department's own policy, you can file a complaint by phone or by mail or go directly to Internal Affairs.
I want to know your options. How do I file a complaint?
Maurice keeps at it. He asks 12 times at the 3rd precinct.
I can't call over the phone?
Finally, the sergeant tells him he can call Internal Affairs, but then discourages him from doing that.
Nobody's in Internal Affairs right now. 6-4 LA. So you give it to me, and if it's worthy of an Internal Affairs investigation, it's a complicated process.
Then this inappropriate question.
What do you have, warrants or something?
No, I don't have no warrants.
So why are you so nervous about talking to him?
I'm in a police station.
You've been here before, I guess?
No.
Why does that sergeant suggest that Maurice is a criminal? Remember, he's done nothing except ask how to file a complaint about police abuse. Things went from bad to worse at the 5th precinct in Elmont. Maurice asks the same how-to question.
How do I go about filing a complaint against an officer?
Listen to the cop's answer.
This is not New York City. New York City will take a complaint for anything. We don't take a complaint for anything.
Then more hostility.
We don't have a form just to bitch on because you want to make a complaint.
What did he say?
We don't have a form just to bitch on because you want to make a complaint.
We found a polite cop here in the 6th precinct in Manhasset. He tries to be helpful.
You're not feeling comfortable. Do you want to go home, speak to a family member, and then come back with a family member, have them come here with you. This way you're a little bit more comfortable with them.
But that cop was wrong when he insisted Maurice had to talk in person with a supervisor.
Well, that's the only way we can file a complaint. We have to hear the story.
Maurice had to ask that cop 9 times if talking to a supervisor was the only way. Finally, a supervisor within earshot the whole time gave the right answer.
You can go directly if you're comfortable with that.
Call Internal Affairs straight?
If you want.
When we spoke to Commissioner Lawrence last week about why Maurice ended up handcuffed for an hour, he wouldn't comment on whether he thought what the cops did was racial profiling.
Do I think there's a racial profiling problem in Nassau County? Absolutely not.
Why is he so sure? He says that no one is complaining.
We receive in the neighborhood of 600 complaints a year against cops. Only about 10 to 13 or 14 of those complaints are racial bias complaints.
We went back to Commissioner Lawrence and showed him the results of our hidden camera test at station houses.
And when you heard how the officers responded, what went through your mind?
That we have to take some corrective action.
And what about the 3rd precinct sergeant who asked this question?
What do you have, warrants or something?
And this 5th precinct cop.
This is not New York City. New York City will take a complaint for anything. We don't take a complaint for anything.
Those responses were totally inappropriate. I would think there's a chance that the person could feel intimidated by a police officer.
Would that kind of intimidation discourage people from complaining? Could that explain the low number of racial bias complaints the department receives?
Do I think it has a major impact? No. I don't think this is a fair representation for what the majority of the police in Nassau County do.
We asked an outside expert about our test.